Welcome to another gathering of the Gold Key Adventurers Society. Have a seat by the fire as we prepare to help you unlock the secrets of the travel life. From theme park thrills to Purple Mountain's majesty, we want to see it all and do it all, and we want to help you do the same. We all have those bucket list trips, once-in-a-lifetime destinations that we'll get to someday. We're here to help you make your travel dreams a reality. Buy the ticket, take the trip. Where do you want to go?
Come on, now tell me what's on your bucket list. Okay, hey, it's a beautiful day. Okay, hey, it's a beautiful day.
Look out! Heather's coming at you with another batch of travel trends to keep an eye on in 2020. Hope you like the color green. As always, we have the week's travel news, and Jess takes us to a Japanese spa perfect for foodies. Shine up your crystal ball and pet the nearest Quokka. It's time to hit the road with the Gold Key Adventurers Society. Welcome back to Action News Team Center K23, your one-stop source for the latest in breaking news around the world and around the corner. Stick around until the top of the hour to find out how a Florida man makes good for once by rescuing a grandma floating out to sea on an ice throne while on vacation in Iceland. But first, it's time for this week's travel news, brought to you by Key to the World Travel. Key to the World Travel is a full-service travel agency specializing in theme parks, cruising, and destinations around the world. Head to www.keytotheworldtravel.com for more details and a no-obligation quote on the vacation of a lifetime. Let's head over to the theme parks desk for our first story. Jess, what's going on in the world of themed entertainment this week?
All right. Well, first up, we've got a new photo experience that's opening up at Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom. It's called the Capture Your Moment photo experience. And so basically, it's going to let you book time with a Disney PhotoPass photographer for a personalized photo session during regular park hours at Magic Kingdom. They're basically selling it as a way to capture celebrations and milestones like baby announcements, proposals, which I'm sure is going to be the top thing it's used for.
The main thing, yeah.
Yeah. And family reunions, things like that. It's pretty cool, actually. You basically are going to meet with a photographer and you get 20 minutes. And you can pick from a selection of locations, and all of the locations have the castle in the background because that's got to be what everybody gets.
Of course.
And so it's $50 per 20-minute session. You can actually book 2 sessions back to back, and that'll give you 2 separate locations. And that's all you get though for the $50. You're not getting any prints or digital downloads of the photos that are taken. But if you have Memory Maker or you're an annual pass holder, you do get the digital downloads.
You still need to buy Memory Maker if you do not already have it. Aha.
The mouse gets paid.
My question
is, I could have sworn that you could already book a PhotoPass photographer. So is this just kind of a repackaging?
Well, I think you can book Disney Fine Art Photography.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if they've ever had a specifically the PhotoPass folks bookable.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there was a difference.
Fine art photography is not $50.
It's more like the wedding photographers.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a little bit pricier, but that is really the only way you can do a professional photo shoot of that quality in the parks. You can't bring in your own professional photographer for senior portraits or wedding pictures or anything like that into the parks. You have to go through Disney Fine Art Photography for that.
This looks like a nice, a more affordable option, at least.
Yeah, definitely. That's not too bad.
So if you show up in a wedding dress, are they going to be like, nope, we got to switch it over to the wedding pricing?
I'm not sure they outside of, that's a really good question though. I don't know. Cause I've seen women walking around in ball gowns and things like that, right. But you can't, I think they might turn you away cause you can't just show up and, have a flash mob style wedding. You gotta,
right.
you have to book that and pay for that. But Jeff and I do have a friend who they were going to dinner at Victoria and Albert's later in the night. And she was wearing this vintage wedding gown for their Victoria and Albert's dinner, and they went and walked around in Epcot, and she had no problems. So, I don't know.
As long as you don't look too much like a princess, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. If you look too much like a princess or like you're trying to have a wedding on the sly, you may get turned away.
Yeah.
I just want this at Hollywood Studios. Like, do that at Galaxy's Edge. That would be great.
Yes. That's a great idea. Good photos with the Millennium Falcon. Yeah, because those are hard to get. People are there's always a mess of people right in the good photo spot. We did see a flash mob of some kind of local Star Wars enthusiast society in front of the Millennium Falcon once they all had their lightsabers, and it was just a sea of like 200 people with their lightsabers lit up.
Oh, so many nerds in one place.
Those are my people.
They could use that service for that kind of event.
Absolutely. All right, Heather, what you got from the travel news front?
Well, LAX, the airport in Los Angeles, is looking for 500 people to act like bad customers in order to test out their new concourse. So if you have ever wanted to be an impossible passenger or have a meltdown at the airport, now is the time for you to do this. So they're looking for 500 people that they want to pretend to need extra assistance, be sick, or just act difficult to test out their new midfield satellite concourse set to open later this summer. And it's going to be kind of a full operational readiness drill that they're doing. The concourse, it looks beautiful. The photos I've seen, it's a 750,000 square foot concourse that will be accessed by an underground terminal. It'll have 12 to 15 gates, and they're asking if you want to participate. They have a survey on their website that you can fill out, and if you get picked, you really need to be in the Los Angeles area for this because they're only going to email these people the day before the test. And the drill's set to open the drill is set to take place about 6 weeks before it opens. So it sounds kind of fun.
It seems to me, though, that all they really need to do is go out into one of the already operating concourses and throw a dodgeball. And anybody that it hits, they pull on over for the test case because that sounds like your typical airport customer.
It really does.
I was going to say, if they are looking for people to be difficult, I could volunteer my mother-in-law quite easily.
Perfect, yeah.
It's a good thing she doesn't listen to the show.
Or my son on a bad day,
Just all of our families.
Yeah.
Let them loose. Yeah.
Also, I don't know how excited I'd be about riding in an underground tram in L.A.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
They do have a subway in L.A., and it's always terrified me.
Yeah, I never want to be down there when that's when you find out that it's not a good place.
The fault goes.
My wife likes the movie Volcano way too much. I've seen it way too many times. I know what happens in the tunnels underneath Californian cities.
You will never be riding that train.
No, not a chance.
Volcano.
Jess, what you got?
Well, sort of off the theme parks, but on to the cruise ships. Disney Cruise Line just unveiled plans for their new Lighthouse Point Island, including a Lighthouse Point website.
I saw that. It looks beautiful.
So it's lighthousepointbahamas.com. And so on the site, they've got concept art, a map, basically a lot of interviews with Joe Rohde, other Imagineers that have been working on it. The design's supposed to be inspired by the natural environment, and it's supposed to celebrate the culture and spirit of the Bahamas. And if Joe Rohde is leading it, it's going to be absolutely amazing.
Absolutely gorgeous, yeah.
Yeah. So everything he does is aesthetically pleasing. I'm highly looking forward to that.
I'm a fan.
Yeah. And so they've got an estimated completion date of 2022 to 2023. So we will see how long it takes them to put it together.
Around about when the first of the new ships is coming online, I believe.
I think we're
almost
going to see
like they planned it that way.
Yeah, I think we're going to see these ships have special new itineraries that include that. So,
yes, book a trip on the new ship and see the new island. I love it.
You know who can help you out with booking one of those trips?
I think
our friendly travel agents are key to the world travel.
That's right.
Weird, guys. I'm so proud of you. We made it through an entire Joe Rohde-centric story, and not a single person mentioned earrings.
His ear
That
makes
is
me
pretty
uncomfortable.
impressive. You're right.
Amazing.
So is it that he gets like a new piece every time he like goes on a trip, or what is? Because it seems
It
if you
has
look at
something
through
to
the
do
years,
with the places that he travels. Yes.
I'd like
It's
him
like
to
a total
settle
ball.
down. Like,
Yeah.
just sit down, Joe. Your ear's getting really disturbing.
Yeah, it's not so much the earrings that are the problem as much as that gnarly old lobe.
Yes.
Take
I
it-
don't
take
know
it
how
a
much
toll on
longer
the
it's
lobe.
going to be able to stretch.
Ugh.
Yay. Well, I never thought that I would read about a yoga retreat and think, this is for me. I really want to do this. Until I found this headline. Get fit while also getting drunk at this drunk yoga retreat in Mexico.
Okay.
What's not to love?
Right? And they say if you want to get healthy in the new year but aren't quite ready for intense hot yoga at 8 a.m., you're in luck. A special retreat in Mexico lets you focus your mind and body through yoga, but also cocktails.
Both of the major food groups.
Right.
Yoga and cocktails.
It's actually a whole movement called drunk yoga. I can't get over this. It looks so hilarious.
I don't have good
They're-
balance when I'm sober.
Right?
Like that's so.
But maybe if you've loosened up, it'll, I don't know, make the yoga easier. It says this drunk yoga will allow guests to focus on their mental and physical health while also imbibing on delicious drinks. This might be the ultimate getaway for millennial travelers. That is in the article. That was not me. It's happening at the Haven Riviera Cancun in Mexico. And the retreat includes airfare, hotel accommodations, yoga classes with cocktails from a curated menu during the yoga classes. But also a sober sunrise yoga, which hopefully is optional if you've been getting drunk.
That's a painful yoga.
The rest of the yoga.
This sounds to me. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It's they're $8.99 per person, and right now the first two they're trying are February 20th and February 23rd. So you still have a chance to get in on this.
So there's a bartender like right there, right as you're doing yoga.
Yes,
So you
it
like
seems
as you're all
like it.
pretzeled up, you can just reach out and grab a margarita.
It says
Presumably, they're all served in sippy cups.
I hope so.
With a lid.
Because it's going to get sticky.
Ew.
Oh.
They just give
Well-
you a Camelback.
Yes.
This seems like the perfect venue where they probably also offer the other new millennial health craze,
Here.
perineum
Yes.
sunning.
Butthole tanning.
Wow.
And after your drunk yoga class, you'll be much more interested in trying out that new trend.
Exactly. You'll
There's
be
a reason they-
relaxed.
There's a reason they call that where the sun don't shine. Like, they don't-
It's not supposed to.
just leave it in the dark, folks.
I live in Michigan. Where am I going to find the sun?
We haven't had sun in a month.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, it's not even an exaggeration.
It was like something like 13% of the available daylight hours actually had sunshine in the month of January.
Yep.
That's gross.
Yeah, it's bleak.
No butthole sunning here in West Michigan. Sorry, folks.
There's also no butthole sunning in Jess's next weird theme park for us.
All right. So how would you guys like to go to a spa that is well known for certain relaxing spa baths, like one filled with red wine
Oh,
or
tell us more.
coffee, or
A
how about
coffee bath.
ramen noodles?
What?
So the
Is this a weird Japanese thing?
it exactly is. This
I
is
knew
the
it.
Unison Theme Park and Spa Resort in Japan's Hakone Prefecture. It has traditional bathhouses and hot springs, as well as some sort of minor theme park attractions like slides and kids rides and stuff. But then they also have drink-themed attractions like a green tea spa, where you can basically get in a giant bath full of green tea and full of other people also.
What?
And
It's a communal
soak up the green
soak?
tea. There is. Yep. There's also a red wine spa and, like I said, a sake spa and a coffee spa, which the photographs of that one kind of threw me off because it's just you're floating in hot brown water and that just it just doesn't look right. And then it didn't help that they also have a standard pool that just has little poop emoji floaties in it.
What?
And it's just full of poop emoji floaties for fun, because it's
I love
Japan.
how weird the Japanese are. I just love it.
But the ramen noodle spa is filled with pepper water. Like it's filled with actual like broth and yeah, so it's
literally people soup.
Yeah, it is real people soup. And yeah, and everyone has like oversized drink containers that are associated with it, like giant wine bottle pouring into the wine bath, and then there's giant fake noodles over the ramen bath, and
ramen bath.
Are there like supposed to be specific health benefits for each of these different baths?
I don't think so. It looks like it's just all theme park kind of related. It's just entertainment.
A gag.
Yeah.
Are there noodles in the ramen noodle bath, or is it just broth?
Not real ramen noodles. You have to bring your own, I guess. Or I don't know. They probably have a sign that says you can't bring your own.
Empty a packet of them into the bath. Ew.
Well, see, I'm suspicious now, though. Is it really these edible liquids, or are they just putting dye in the water?
They say it is, and there's photographs of people in the wine spa, and there's an employee with a giant wine bottle, and he's just spraying them with it, and they're all like hands in the air, like yay!
So
like, get us with the wine. I can't wait to go to Japan. It's like
right?
Top of my list of next, where I'm gonna get to out of the States.
I can't see climbing in a bath full of peppery water, though. Isn't that going to have pepper in
repercussions?
You don't want pepper.
That's Ew. It's not going to smell good afterwards.
It
or
also
during.
Sounds like
it's going to be a little burny.
This is burning.
Yeah. The other important question is, do they have some kind of fun mascot for the park? And what does that look like?
No, I didn't see any in any of the photographs. There was no mention of characters or photographs. I think people. Yeah, I think it's that they've had the spa sort of going for a while, and that these were added on in recent years as to
the Japanese do really love a mascot.
Yeah.
They have some weird mascots just everywhere.
Cities have mascots.
Yes. I first saw that. I love to watch Last Week Tonight with John Oliver.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And he did a segment about one of the town's mascots kind of went rogue and was like beating people up.
Oh, no.
And so they made a giant John Oliver mascot and sent that mascot to Japan to calm down the other one. And I think the one that went rogue was an otter, some kind of otter.
Yeah, I think it was.
It was a crazy story, just so typically Japanese. Just wild. I love it.
I just off the top of my head decided that we're going to have our first ever listener contest, and I want to challenge our listeners to design a mascot for this park.
Oh, no.
Submit it on the Facebook page.
Please do that.
I don't know if there's any prize involved other than it'll make me laugh and smile.
Pat on the back.
So, yeah, there you go.
And nobody can steal my idea of like a butt that's on fire because of the pepper water. Like a little smiling butt on fire.
You should sketch that up and submit it, Jess.
I'll be put on a list if I sketch that up.
There's the T-shirt.
He needs a fun name too. I'm not going to provide that name.
Heather, you have another travel story for us?
I do. Belize is giving away a free trip to Belize for you and a coworker.
Not a friend?
Well,
I gotta bring a coworker.
Well, the way that it works is that you would win a trip for yourself and one other person, and then you nominate a coworker that you think needs some vacation time, and then they get to bring a friend. So they say that Americans feel so guilty about time away from work that the Belize Tourism Board came up with this contest to try to get Americans to take their vacation time. The Belize Tourism Board is celebrating paid time off by giving away 3 5-day trips for 2 people. And the winners of those 3 trips can nominate a coworker to also receive the same trip. Pretty interesting. It's an all expenses paid 5-day trip to Belize. And to enter for the free trip, you have until February 18th to submit your entry at belizeguilttrip.com and tell them why you feel guilty taking a vacation and why you deserve a trip. And then they need you to nominate a coworker who could also use some time off. Yeah, so I thought that was kind of interesting. And Belize is beautiful, so it'd be a great place to go have a free trip.
The only thing I know about Belize is it sticks in every time I hear the name of the country. I think of the theme song from Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? I miss Rockapella.
Yes.
I'm sure they're playing a chili cook-off somewhere or something like that.
I hope so.
Rockapella.
Do it, Rockapella.
Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego?
She goes from Nashville
Isn't there a new Carmen Sandiego?
It's a cartoon. It's not a game show.
It's a cartoon, and she's older. And
yeah. And she's like the good guy. I was watching, my son was watching it, and I walked in and watched it for like 5 minutes, and I was like, that's not my Carmen Sandiego. Get off my lawn.
I watched an episode, and it was kind of bizarre. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
I just pretend it doesn't exist.
Good plan.
But actually, I think that the chief in it is actually voiced by the chief from the old show. So
who else could do that voice?
Yeah, good point.
Iconic. All right. Well, I think we've hit just about the end of our travel news, which means it's time for some wacky hotels.
Wacky.
We need like a theme song for that.
I know. One of these days, I'm going to talk about the Star Wars one first.
Do it.
Yeah.
And then Heather's got one for us too. But so from Travel and Leisure, this Star Wars Airbnb just outside of Orlando is perfect for fans traveling to the Galaxy's Edge. I don't know what to say about it other than it is a 9-bedroom, 5-bathroom giant house, 15 minutes away from the theme parks, and it is Star Wars'd out. The hallways look like the hallways of the Millennium Falcon. You can sleep in at least one of the beds. Kind of looks like the cockpit.
It looks like
arm off of the side.
Yeah, the gun
of
turret
the Falcon.
on the Falcon, right?
Yeah,
It's the cockpit or the gun turret or something.
Yeah, the cockpit, and there's like flight controls inside the bed, and there's another room with bunks that look like they're from like a Imperial jail or something.
Does it come with Tauntaun sleeping bags? Have you seen those?
Cut them open yourself.
I have seen those. No, but it does have the Hoth room.
There is a Hoth room,
the ice cave, and the bed is like in a pile of snow with the entrance to the ice cave where the Wampa is.
Oh,
I have a problem with the Cloud City one because the Han and Carbonite is the rug, and so you gotta step on the poor dudes.
That's great. Yeah, there's a rug, and it's Han, frozen in Carbonite, and then the bed looks like it's made out of clouds, and they've got ground effects lighting underneath it.
That
it's like you're floating on a heavenly bed.
weird, but also cool.
Yeah. Other rooms include, there's one located on the planet of Mustafar, so you can fall asleep inside a volcano, I guess.
Isn't that what everyone wants to do?
Well, that's Darth Vader's planet. That's where his castle is.
His castle.
That's why I saw that when I was like, oh, that's the one I want.
Of course.
There's a Dagobah swamp. I like the Endor-themed room. That looks like the Ewoks' huts. That's got like a little thatched roof over the headboard, and it looks like they're up in the trees.
Wow, somebody. Really
there's a couple of pod racer beds that are like really, but of course the big hit is going to be the Naboo room.
That's where all the magic happens.
Yeah, angsty magic. So you can find the Star Wars Villa on Airbnb. It's available for around $275 a night, and check that out.
Plus around $700 worth of fees. That is insane. Okay, like that's when I paused. I went, oh, okay.
You got to pay to turn on the lights. You got to pay to turn on the pool. You got to pay to heat the pool. You got to pay to.
You're actually paying for the homeowner to just be there in his stormtrooper outfit and just stand in the corner.
Well, I mean, that one's worth it.
Worth it. Well, my hotel is not really actually that weird. It's kind of a little unusual. But it is a decommissioned military base that's been turned into a beautiful inn. And it actually is really pretty. It's the Presidio. Have you guys ever heard of the Presidio in San Francisco?
Yeah.
It sits right on San Francisco Bay and has the perfect view of the Golden Gate Bridge. And it used to be an army base that was decommissioned, and it has been turned into the inn at the Presidio and the lodge at the Presidio. And it would be a great place to go and stay if you want to visit the Walt Disney Family Museum in San Francisco. You can see out across the bay. I can't tell from this picture, but I think you may be able to see Alcatraz from the lawn.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah, it looks really pretty. And I guess they've taken all of the barracks buildings, and that's where what they turned into hotel rooms. I'm assuming that they spent a little time updating them, and it doesn't look like, it doesn't feel like you're just sleeping in an army barracks.
It's an experience.
Well, I think from what I read, they've actually been taken, because they've been slowly over the years turning different buildings from the fort into different kind of restaurants and shops and touristy things.
It's kind of like a whole destination now. And it all sits within the Golden Gate National Recreation Area. It's really pretty. And the buildings are actually quite pretty, all red brick, red roofed buildings. Yeah, that says they have also on the grounds are the Fort Point Beer Company.
Important.
Yes. There's a campground on part of it. So if you don't want to stay at the inn and you hate yourself, you can go camping. Sorry, Dan.
You want to really live like a soldier?
Yes, that's it.
We'll get into one of those travel destinations later.
All right. All right. Well, it has been on my bucket list to get out to the Walt Disney Family Museum. So I might have to just check this place out. We'll post a link on our Facebook page. It looks like a really, really pretty area. And you can pretend that you're in the movie, The Presidio.
Yes, I remember that movie. Or you can climb to the top of the Golden Gate Bridge like on James Bond: A View to a Kill.
Yes. Somebody needs to have
keeping it classy.
Some kind of James Bond travel experience. I'd be all over that.
Nobody's going to mention The Rock? Come on.
Preferably. Oh, yeah, that's true. I love that movie.
Get down on your knees.
It's terrible, but I love it. Yes.
All right. I think that's all the travel news that caught our interest this week. Stick around, because after this break, we'll be back with our latest batch of travel trends to help inspire you to get out and explore the world.
We'll return after these messages.
When it comes to planning your next adventure, knowledge and preparation are always key. That's why a call to your Key to the World Travel Vacation Planner should always be at the top of your to-do list when you feel the urge to venture forth and explore the world. Key to the World Travel is an authorized Disney vacation planner, specializing in travel to Disney theme parks around the world, as well as Disney Cruise Line, Aulani, and Adventures by Disney. With over 450 travel advisors who share a deep love for Disney destinations, Key to the World Travel has a wealth of knowledge and passion to help you experience all the magic with none of the work. Wherever your wanderlust is driving you, Key to the World Travel is a full-service travel agency with the expertise to get you where you want to go. So whether you're headed to Universal Studios, Hawaii, Europe, or somewhere a little farther off the beaten track, your first step should always be to visit www.keytotheworldtravel.com for a no-obligation quote. Their expert travel planners are standing by to help you with every detail of your perfect vacation. That's www.keytotheworldtravel.com or at Key to the World Travel on Facebook. Key to the World Travel, your key to a magical vacation.
Our Doom Buggies have just made the turn past the terrifying grandfather clock at the end of the corridor of doors and into the seance room. As the fortune teller's table comes into the view, an unexpected but familiar voice rings out. And we see that it's not Madame Leota's head in the crystal ball, but Heather's. Railroads and Earth ships, the Great Barrier Reef. These are the latest things you'll want to go see. Let's have a seat around the crystal ball and let Heather show us what's in the cards for travel trends this year.
Travel trends in 2020. Well, I've compiled a list, and I have to say that there's a bit of a theme running through all of these. We'll see if you guys can guess it after we've talked about a few. But the first one I wanted to talk about is a trend called slow travel. And this is basically trips that are focusing on conveyances such as trains, boats, buses, things like that, instead of air. And then spending a lot of time living like a local instead of visiting major tourist sites. So the idea is that it's people who want to get away from air travel, and the primary reason for that is because of the environmental impact that air travel has. So a lot of people are finding ways to travel via train, boats, and this would be something other than cruise ships, because if you're trying to get away from the emissions issue with air, you're probably not going to love a cruise ship.
Yeah.
And then
a big old diesel train's not much better.
So there were a lot of links throughout this trend to sleeper trains. Sleeper trains throughout Europe are a big thing, and it's kind of something I've always wanted to try. Have either of you ever done this?
No, not abroad.
Not sleeping. No,
Not sleeping on a train. Like the last time we've done some trains from we took a train last summer from Paris to Switzerland, but it was about a 3-hour trip. No need to sleep on the train.
No, I've done the Amtrak from Grand Rapids to Chicago, and I've done
I've done that one too.
The South Shore line from South Bend or whatever that is to Chicago, but that's it.
Yeah, back when I was a starving college student, I used to take Amtrak all the time out of New York, and I've done a sleeper train here, but not anywhere else.
With like an actual sleeper car?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's cool. I want to try it. I was looking at a lot of these trips in Europe. Look pretty cool.
Yeah, like the bed was horribly uncomfortable, but the experience itself was nice. I just ended up hanging out in the bar car most of the time.
Some of them don't look super glamorous. Like there's a train that goes from Paris across the Alps to Milan and then on to Rome. And some of the pictures I saw of the bunks were like, I mean, it's a bunk room with bunks stacked 3 high. It doesn't look. It doesn't look super comfortable. Yeah. It's not like, you've seen Murder on the Orient Express or some of those.
It's not like 2 giant couches with a fireplace. You're like, wait.
Or, last weekend we had a bit of a James Bond marathon, and we were watching Casino Royale, the first Daniel Craig version. And they do a sleeper train across Eastern Europe, which, ends in chasing bad guys on top of the train and shooting. But it starts off with them in a really elegant car having a fancy dinner and then retiring to their fancy sleeper cars. I could get on board with that.
Well, I've got a slightly less fancy option, a way to see America, and literally all of America, or at least the outside edges of all of America. Travel booking site Wanderu, Wanderu. I've never heard of this page before, but they released a guide. It's a map to help you book a trip to go literally around the United States by rail. They're working with Amtrak for this itinerary. If you just stay on the train and don't get off, you can do the entire loop around the country in 7 days, and it'll cost less than $1,000.
Wow. Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Only 7 days. I'm surprised by that.
That's fast.
Yeah. Well, that's if you don't get off the
Never
train.
stop,
And there's and there's
living
section
on this train for a week.
Sounds like
right,
Snowpiercer.
and they say, we admit you'd have to be a special kind of extra to ride 46 hours straight on a train, because there's some there's some long stretches. The route starts from New England down the eastern seaboard, crosses the Sun Belt. It hits Louisiana over to L.A., up into Washington, over to Chicago. So, but you don't have to do it straight. You can get off. It's the kind of thing where you can book your tickets. You can get off in a city, stay in a hotel for a night or two, explore the city, and then get back on the train.
The definition of slow travel.
Right. Yeah. So
riding the rails around the United States.
That's a find yourself trip. That's a,
Totally.
Yeah, it says it's some of the most scenic Amtrak routes in the country. So, it sounds
bonus
pretty cool.
points for packing all of your things in a little pouch like a hobo and putting it on a stick.
a bindle.
A bindle stick. Yeah.
Yes.
Then you need
Fortunately, you
top
don't have
hat
to
with
ride.
the top kind of popped off.
Yeah. Yes.
You've really tapped into the aesthetic of
A cigar that you never light, but it's like broken.
Dan. Fingers cut off the gloves.
Fingerless gloves and like one of those old like frock shirts. It's like a dickie, but it's like rolled up in the front.
One of the toes of your boots is open, like the top of
See,
your hat.
I've thought a lot about being a hobo, so
Well, you've really curated quite the list
too.
of requirements.
this is a hobo in Toontown, obviously, but not like a real hobo. But
The best kind of hobo.
Yeah.
It's a lot less unsavory.
Well, I will segue into the next travel trend on the off of the hobo essay there.
let's get off the hobo.
Yeah. And the next one I wanted to talk about is green travel.
All right.
So this is really due to a huge increase in climate change awareness that's driving a big demand for more environmentally friendly travel options. Carbon offsetting is a huge thing in the travel industry these days. And the definition is that it's a reduction in carbon or other greenhouse gas emissions to compensate elsewhere. So basically the idea is that you can buy carbon offsets when you're flying, for example. There's a website called cooleffect.org, and they will donate. You can make a donation to offset your plane travel, basically, and they will put all of that money into carbon reduction projects around the world. So they have this little calculator where you can put in, this is where I'm going, and they'll calculate for you how many tons of carbon emissions your flight is going to cost, and then you can donate an amount of money that they'll spend on offsetting that trip. There's kind of some debate over whether offsetting doesn't really work. Are you really doing anything when you do this? I mean, I guess my opinion of it would be it's always good to donate to projects that are trying to clean up the globe and reduce carbon emissions. So it's not a harmful thing to do, but is it really?
I mean, you're doing
trip?
better than if you didn't. I mean, you would still be taking the trip, so.
Exactly. I think that's kind of the feeling from most people on it, is that you're still doing the thing that is causing tremendous amount of greenhouse gas emissions. But
it kind of feels like Walt Disney World shifting around artificial swamps every time they build, so that they maintain the level of wetland that they originally started with.
It is kind of along that track. Other things in this area that are becoming really popular are people seeking out environmentally friendly hotels. This has driven the hotel industry to get rid of the single-use plastics. That's been a big thing in the news lately. Plastics from hotels and cruise ships, and Walt Disney World recently went to this and mounting the big refillable bottles of shampoo and conditioner in the showers, even in the deluxe hotels. Virgin Voyages just announced that instead of using key cards on their ships, they're going to use bands made from recycled ocean plastic. And there's a little picture of it. It looks like it's kind of like a little transmitter, and then it's hooked onto a cute little metal anchor, and then something that sort of honestly looks a little bit like a thin bungee cord.
I was hoping you would get like a 6-pack ring or something, ocean plastic.
Yes.
with a bird stuck in one of them.
Like a turtle hanging off the end, like, please, just let me out.
So
have you guys...
it'll be a little RFID piece, basically, and
it sounds magical.
It is magical.
And bandage.
Weird.
It will be for boarding the ship, opening cabins, and it will be how the servers will find you when you use your little Shake for Champagne app.
Got to tie into
Essential.
that.
Yes, but then so their little shtick on it is that it is made from 6 grams of marine and coastal plastic, which is about the equivalent of a water bottle.
All right.
I was just going to look up how much is 6 grams because it sounds like a very small amount.
Yeah.
It's not a lot.
In addition to not using plastic key cards, Virgin Voyages has already announced that there will be no single-use plastics whatsoever on their ships. No straws, no water bottles, no shopping bags. This one is a little bit interesting. They also will not have a buffet of any kind on their ships, which they say will eliminate food waste.
Makes sense. A lot of the other cruise lines are limiting the number of entrees that you can order for similar reasons.
But aren't they going to have like a much larger wait staff?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean it's kind of a bold move. Who's ever been on a cruise with no buffet, right?
That's surprising.
They're also going to do things like using LED lights and having sensors in the room so that you can't accidentally leave your lights on when you leave the room. Other cruise ships have that, but you have to put a plastic card in the light switch. And honestly, all you have to do is just leave the plastic card in there. So you can still end up leaving your lights on.
I've done it a few times. Yeah. Well, speaking of like green travel, have you guys ever heard of woofing?
Woofing?
Woofing.
Is this something a dog does?
Well, in some contexts, yes. It's WWOOFING. So it's
WWOO. Okay.
It comes from the Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms, which is a program where it's essentially like a work exchange.
You get to be a farmhand?
Pretty much, yeah. You go to woof.net, and they have a gigantic network of organic farms all over the world. And they have opportunities, and you can basically volunteer to work. And while you're there, you work for food and your accommodations. And it's basically the program sustains or fosters sustainable farming. And so you can go to.
Sounds like a great cause, and I'm going to say no, thank you.
Well, I'd like to provide a counterpoint. I'd like to provide a counterpoint to the greatness of this because some people would tend to say instead of all of these privileged white American kids coming and playing farmer, why don't we put some resources into helping the people who already live there more successfly, sustainably farm their land, providing them with jobs?
If you can come up with a cool name like woofing for it, then maybe. It's all about branding,
only
dude.
Thing about that's appealing.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
A lot of hippie kids like, we're doing woofing this summer, man. It's going to be great. Where are you woofing? I don't know. We're going to help people. What people? I don't know. We're going woofing.
We're going to go pull some weeds.
Doesn't matter. It feels good.
They need our help, man.
Have you guys ever heard of Earth ships?
An Earth ship?
You mean like Spaceship Earth?
Ship.
The grand and miraculous Spaceship Earth.
What the heck is an Earth ship?
An Earth ship is a crazy living space. It's a house that is made. They try to focus on making it out of as much recycled material as possible, but then they also build it into the ground. And so a lot of times, so usually usually they're usually long, skinny buildings, like a ranch house. Imagine that one of the long sides is in the side of a hill, and the roof might be covered with dirt also.
Are we talking like a Hobbit village with this?
I think the word you're looking for is hole.
Kind of.
There's a hole in the ground that you're saying?
Yeah, but sort of. And then the other long wall is usually built facing south, and it's all windows. They have solar panels all over the place. They operate off the grid for electrical and heating. They usually have big gardens. A lot of times the outer walls are made out of adobe or like dirt reinforced with recycled tires and stuff. They're supposed to be super green ways to live, heat, and power your house. They're really popular, like in the desert. New Mexico, Arizona has a lot of them. And
I've never heard of this.
Yeah, they're super cool. Well, I'll put up some pictures because they're all weird, kind of futuristic looking. I've seen one near where some of my family lives in Ohio, and it's so weird because it's just this giant mound of dirt with windows on one side of it, and so I mean they get their light and a lot of heat, from like greenhouse effect, basically. But anyway, so I've got another wacky hotel for y'all. You can find this on Airbnb, and it's the Spectacular Taos Earthship. And it looks like there's a little community of these Earthship houses in Taos, New Mexico.
New Mexico.
Yeah, and we'll throw up a link. It's not very big. It's a one king bedroom house. This one's got like a full kitchen, and it actually has a TV and Wi-Fi available, but gorgeous views of the New Mexico desert, and it's all adobe and dirt and funky southwestern pottery inside and stuff. So
It looks like something out of like Star Trek The Next Generation, like all the buildings whenever they visit a planet.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It totally does.
Weird.
Yeah, and there's lots of like curved walls, and yeah, there's very organic looking. So they're pretty cool.
Interesting.
I don't get the ship part. Like,
Yeah, I'm still.
I was waiting for you to say, and then they blast off.
Yeah, no, that's like, I don't know. The weird hippie guy who first invented that kind of structure decided to call them Earth ships. Like
What? A hippie came up with this idea?
No, stop it.
Yeah, the idea dates back to the 70s. And
We're going to go woofing in an Earth ship, bro.
probably.
Let's combine those two. We can make thousands of dollars. Well, then the next thing I wanted to bring up is last chance travel, which is the idea that there are places on the planet that you need to hurry to see because climate change is threatening to destroy them. Probably figured out that there's a lot of climate change awareness thread running through these 2020 travel trends.
I was going to say the theme is the Earth is on fire.
The theme is we're all going to die. Yes. The planet is burning. And so you need to go see places like Glacier Bay, glaciers in general, the Great Barrier Reef, Antarctica and the Arctic, the Galapagos Islands, Machu Picchu, even places like Iceland and Greenland. And places with a lot of
reindeer are in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. So what's on your bucket list of places that you want to see that is being threatened by climate change? One for me that I've never seen and I've always wanted to visit is Venice, Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say that one seems like the most high profile one for sure.
It is very high profile right now, not only from climate change, but also really from over tourism. So it's a little bit of it's a little bit of a I really want to go, but I feel guilty about doing it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I know. I feel like if I don't see Alaska before it's gone, with it being as relatively close as compared to the other destinations.
Definitely. Alaska is on my bucket list, and Glacier Bay. I want to see blue ice. Is that weird?
Yeah.
I see all these pictures of glaciers. I think most of them are usually from places like Glacier Bay in Alaska, and they're just like the snow and the ice almost look blue.
I want to see
it's
where
amazing. I got to visit a glacier in Austria when I went on
cool.
a trip there after 8th grade, and it's unbelievable. It's because it's such a big piece of ice.
Yeah, it's a giant.
But yeah,
piece of
the color is pretty amazing.
I want to see where they get all the designs for the water bottles.
Yes. Right.
I'd like to visit LA one more time before it splits off of the
Before it
mainland
falls
and
into
becomes
the
an
ocean.
inaccessible island filled with all of our worst criminals.
Yes.
It'll happen to New York first, don't worry.
The Great Barrier Reef looks beautiful, but I've always had sort of mixed feelings about visiting in Australia because basically everything there wants to kill you and can kill you.
Is it the snakes or the giant spiders that bother
all
you?
of it. They have all of the scary snakes. And
It's giant
all
spiders
of the
riding
scary
on snakes.
spiders. Yes.
But on the other hand, they also have quokkas.
This is true.
Excuse me?
I would love to have.
Quokkas.
You know what a quokka is?
What's a quokka?
Oh, we
It's
gotta
the
show you a
cutest little
picture of a
rodent you've
quokka.
ever seen.
It's,
Quokka.
All right.
Google it right now, Jess. It's the cutest little animal, and it always looks like it's smiling.
Yes, they're very happy.
But the one interesting
Oh, that's a
fact-
Muppet, y'all.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
One fun thing, though, that I've read about quokkas is that if they have babies and they are threatened by a predator, they will throw their babies at the predator so that they can escape.
I have the
You
same
can always
move.
make more.
Exactly.
Like, give me all your money. Take my baby.
Oh, but they always look happy. They look like they're smiling.
They do.
Love
That's
a
so
quokka.
Because
weird.
they know that they're not going to get eaten because the babies are perfect.
I'll give you my baby.
Yeah.
Oh, I just found a picture of Thor with a quokka. So that's
Oh,
Between quokkas and wombat poop, that pretty much redeems.
yes. But then, of course, you could also visit New Zealand, which has no snakes. So,
true. But they have hobbits.
and hobbits, but no
Win-win.
quokkas. So, it's a
Hobbits are
trade-off.
cute too.
Yeah. Oh, Iceland and Greenland, both
There's too many
inappropriately
millennials.
named because Iceland is green and Greenland is icy.
Iceland is very nice,
Yes.
and Greenland is covered with ice.
Yes.
Thank you, D2, the Mighty Ducks. I learned that geography lesson well, and I never, ever will forget it.
Antarctica and the Arctic. I live in a really snowy place. I can go see penguins at the zoo.
I just don't like the cold. So
Yeah, those two are not for me, but I guess I can see the appeal. There's a lot of expedition small cruise ships popping up that are going to places like that. So those are really popular right now because of the sense of urgency for visiting those places. The scenic eclipse not only goes to places like that, they also have their own onboard submarine. So you can take a little excursion underneath a glacier
that's some James
for
Bond
the
travel.
low price of $100,000.
That just sounds terrifying. That's asking for a disaster movie.
Put me in a tin can and
they
shove
have a
me in the ocean.
helipad and their own helicopter. I know some of our hosts who aren't with us today have a strict no helicopters policy.
I have a no helicopter policy
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
Well, moving on to the next one is pet-friendly travel. More and more travelers want to bring their pets along on vacation. So a lot of hotel chains are starting to adopt pet-friendly policies. Kimpton hotels, I love Kimpton hotels in the first place. They're great. A lot of them are sort of boutique-y style hotels, but they are pet-friendly. And not only that, they will, when you check in with your dog, they always have a little gift pack for your dog. That's like some treats and a little dog bowl. Lowe's hotels are all pet friendly. I found a site called bringfido.com that has a little tool where you type in where you want to go and they will bring up all of the pet friendly options in that city. So I thought that was pretty cool. I'm a cat person and there's no way my cats would care to travel anywhere. So this one's not really my thing. You guys both have dogs. Do you ever travel with your dogs?
I don't. I love my dog, but there's just no way I could I don't know. We have a really great kennel that he goes to, and he absolutely loves to go there. So it's like he gets his own vacation.
That's his vacation. It's his
Yeah.
doggy spa. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
nice.
But yeah, he's too dumb. I can't travel with him. He's just too dumb. So
I don't know whether Sonic would do well traveling, Dan, right? He's a little...
I mean, he's really good at sitting in the passenger seat of my pickup truck.
There you go.
wow. That's a high bar you got going.
We can ride on down the road to the...
If I had a little dog, I think, you know, that one that could fit in a little carrying case under the seat in front of me on an airplane, I might be more likely to travel with a pet.
I would do that, yeah. But my dog's 45 pounds.
Yeah.
So there's no way I'm getting him on the
Big
airplane.
dogs are not. Then you have to.
Unfortunately,
you have to
we
drive.
just covered, was that last week or the week before, that they're going to make it harder for you to do this kind of travel, right?
Oh yeah, exactly, because they're tightening up the laws around emotional support animals.
No more support ferrets on
No.
a plane.
If you want to travel with your ferrets, you're going to have to rent an RV.
I want an emotional support quokka. That thing is.
Yes.
That would be now. That would be an emotional support. How can you not smile looking at that thing?
Exactly.
Sorry,
You'll never be sad again.
I'm enamored.
My grandparents like to travel with their dogs, but they have an RV and they just drive everywhere. My grandfather doesn't really love to fly, so that works out well for them.
That helps, yeah.
Next up would be popular destinations that are trending for 2020 are places in Eastern Europe. There's a huge growing interest in places like Croatia, Macedonia, Albania. I've always wanted to visit Croatia. I've heard that it's just an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous country. But the only place I've visited in Eastern Europe is Turkey. Visited not Istanbul, but
Constantinople.
yeah, I wish. Ephesus on the other side of the country.
Excuse me? God bless you.
And didn't they film like Game of Thrones out there?
Yes, Game of Thrones was all sites in Eastern Europe.
So I know that's had a lot to do with it. Yeah, and then I know
that would be a great trip to put together to all the Game of Thrones filming sites.
Oh, I'm sure they've got like a pretty good tour or something. And I know they did the HBO Chernobyl. That was done in Lithuania. So
yeah, and we've talked about that on the show previously about that's kind of some of the underbelly type travel that people want to visit macabre places like Chernobyl, and you can do it if you want to.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to, but apparently there are a lot of people who want to visit places like that. But it would also include like, what about a Dracula tour in Transylvania or something
That
like
would
that.
be great. I remember last year there was you could win a night at Dracula's castle. There's a sweepstakes from some travel company or other.
Yes.
I
would be down for that.
I've got another location in Transylvania that is just great.
Oh, let's hear it.
It's called Arsenal Park, and it's an outdoor amusement theme park built literally on an old arsenal and munitions factory.
Oh, no. Thank you.
In Transylvania, they used to produce explosives, landmines, and ammunition, and now they call it a 4-star resort.
What?
Looking at the pictures on their website, I'm questioning like what year's
Is this
rubric
like a
they use.
4-star Soviet definition?
Yeah, that's Transylvania 4 stars. That's all. That's not the same as American 4 stars.
Right. So, but let's talk about what they've got. On the grounds is a military museum where they've just got random jets and tanks and artillery pieces just parked around that you can go look at. That's pretty cool. Their aqua park is it's a swimming pool, guys, and it's not a nice swimming pool. It's like the military base swimming pool that they
and they call it an aqua park. I love it.
How about they've got an old decommissioned water tower, and they call it power jumping.
You can go jump into the water tower?
No, you jump off of the water tower.
right?
It's not a bungee jump so much as you're just on a rope. So it's kind of like rappelling, but you just slide down the rope.
So they just tie a rope on you and they throw you off, basically.
This
Yeah.
sounds amazing.
Now you go down the hill.
Yeah, but this, you could go to the shooting range and try out all kinds of military style rifles and handguns. There's an archery range where the picture of the person enjoying this activity, he's in full on battle fatigue. With his bow.
You know they got a lot of old dudes dressed in battle fatigue showing up to that place.
So let's see. Oh, there's a couple other highlights that I wanted to talk about. Armored vehicle rides.
Whoa, of course.
All right.
They have some 1960s era Romanian, Swedish, and Danish troop carriers that you can go ride around
This place sounds magical.
the park. They also have
They got mini golf.
they have mini golf.
Just saw it. Mini golf.
They have as an attraction military training where they take you out into the woods and you run through. You know the obstacle course that they run through in like Full Metal Jacket.
Yes, yeah.
Where the drill instructor's yelling at them and they're climbing over walls and going under nets and stuff. You can pay good money to put on a gas mask and run through the obstacle course for an hour and a half.
Wow. And what apparently I just stumbled while I'm looking at this site. I just stumbled that they have an amphitheater, and it looks like they have a fashion show that happens in the amphitheater along with
Awesome.
giant guns and whatnot.
Yeah.
This sounds fun.
Paintball field, skate park, skating rink, outdoor skating rink. The conference room is a cafeteria that dismal to say it's just amazing, guys. It's a weird Soviet era. It's amazing.
This absolutely sounds like something that was dreamed up by some Soviet military general.
Yeah. Well, let's just say it's now on my bucket list for my trip to Romania.
Especially now that I've seen the playground. Wow. All right.
Did you see how they describe what happens on the playground, where it prepares children for the types of movements that they would need to use in the field?
What's great about this is if you go to their website, you've got everything they offer, and it's like, multifunctional sports field, treasure hunt, archery, amphitheater, and then right at the bottom, bicycle.
Bicycle.
It's just bicycle, 1 hour. Bicycle.
To rent, yeah.
It doesn't say anything about it. Just apparently you get a bicycle for an hour. Now you ride your bike.
The entertainment center is this big empty room with one pool table, one dartboard, and a little table with a laptop on it to access the internet.
To tell somebody you need help and to come and get you.
Oh, I feel bad about, we've alienated our Transylvanian audience, but
Somewhere an Arsenal Park employee just turned off his iPhone and cried.
Well, and on that note, the next thing I had to talk about is budget air travel. Mm-hmm. The expansion of basic economy and low cost carriers is going to be a huge trend continuing into 2020. Even the big airlines are getting in on this now and offering basically an unbundling of fares where all you really get is a place to sit. You have to pay extra for anything else that you want. And I don't know, I have mixed feelings about this. That kind of thing is good for short trips, but if you're trying to fly to Europe in basic economy, it just sounds miserable to me.
Yeah, and does this include the trend of have you seen some of these experimental seats that they're trying out that look like some of them look like bicycle seats?
Yes, like you're
or the
sort
ones
of
that
standing.
force you to stand half up.
Yes.
You're crouching.
There is absolutely no way. I mean, I guess if you were commuting on a business trip from New York City to Washington, D.C. or something on a quick trip like that, maybe. But
I've flown Spirit once. I flew it down to Orlando, which is a 2-hour nonstop flight for me.
that's not too bad.
It's not bad, but I don't think I'll ever do it again. Like it wasn't it wasn't as bad as riding a greyhound, but it was similar to riding a greyhound, you know. And comparatively, if you compare it most of the time for me to Southwest or JetBlue, after you add all the fees in that they're not, you know, charging you for immediately, it's the same price. So
we did some low cost carriers in Europe. We flew Ryanair from Paris to Dublin, and that wasn't bad. Do you guys remember when Ryanair was talking about the idea that they were going to make people pay to use the toilet?
Oh yeah,
you'd have to put like a euro coin to get in to use the toilet.
That's so weird.
That's kind of extreme unbundling of fares.
Yeah,
you can't even pee. That's a little too much for me.
Yeah,
but it certainly does open up a lot of destinations for people who maybe wouldn't have thought about flying. It's not my favorite trend.
I mean, even honestly, after the last couple of times I've flown, I'm getting tired of even just Southwest. Like,
Southwest out of Grand Rapids lately has not been any cheaper than one of the major carriers.
And I'd rather pay for slightly better
accommodations
experience on a major carrier.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Southwest makes up for it in the jovial nature of their employees, I have to say.
That is true. The customer service associated with Southwest is great. We unfortunately haven't had the greatest of scheduling options out of Grand Rapids lately, so I've been avoiding them. But I do really love it. There's a lot of people who really swear by JetBlue.
I love JetBlue. That's the one I tend to take every time I go to
We don't have that option out of our area. We'd have to drive to Detroit for JetBlue, but I've heard that it's a great airline.
Yeah, there's a lot of space in the seats, which is really nice, and the prices are. I mean, I can fly round trip to Orlando for $200 or less year round. That is great. Usually. Yeah. So.
And you're getting good service, and it's comfortable. That's nice.
Very much.
That's what I worry about with some of the low cost carriers, like Spirit and Sun Country, is they don't have great records for being on time. There's a lot of delays. With Sun Country, at least from our airports, they only fly a couple times a week. So if you have your flight canceled because of weather or whatever, you're not getting out probably for another few days.
What is it, Frontier that only flies like certain days of the week, too?
I believe Frontier in a lot of places is the same. Yeah. And they tend to go to some of the non-major airports, which in most places is okay. If you're talking about a Walt Disney World trip and you're flying into Sanford, then you can't use Magical Express. And now you've got to add that cost on, and that eats up some of what you saved.
Pretty much all of what you saved, to be honest.
I just had a few other kind of miscellaneous things that I thought I'd throw out there. This one kind of sounds like my worst nightmare. It's adult children traveling with their parents. What do you guys think of this one?
Damn millennials.
Sign you up for a trip with mom and dad?
I'd rather take my dog.
Yes.
Just kidding. Love you, Mom.
Yeah.
She does listen to the show.
I can't get on board with that one. No thanks.
That just seems... seems difficult. I can't come up with a nice way to say that.
I know a lot of people who do this, but it tends to be more of like trip to Walt Disney World and Grandma and Grandpa are coming along. That sort of thing. I can't see let's fly to Paris and bring along Mom and Dad. I don't know.
Right. Well, what age adult children are you talking about, and where are you planning on going?
Yeah.
Because like when my kids are in their 20s, I don't want to go anywhere with them.
Exactly.
I don't think.
Yeah, exactly.
But when I'm very elderly and they're maybe slightly more mature,
taking care of you on vacation,
then you're just not going to want to go anywhere at any time.
I'll sit down in Branson, Missouri, and watch a Andy Williams tribute show.
It'll be done by robots by that time, but
it's everything I want in life, really.
What about last minute vacations?
I can't travel like that.
You can't do it?
I can't do it. I mean, if a trip arose, I would take it, but I can't just on a whim say, I'm going to leave next week. But I've had clients that have contacted me within 2-3 weeks of when they want to go. And, I've put their trips together and they've gone and been very happy. So
What if you saw like a super amazing round trip airfare to Paris, France for 2 days from now? Would you do it?
I got other things to do.
I would totally
Right, yeah,
do
that's the
that.
thing. I wish I could, but there's too much.
You have too many children.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Well, yes. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Jess. I happen to like my children.
You know what your problem is.
For some reason, there was a stretch of time in my mid-20s when I had the money that I could have been traveling, but for some reason it didn't occur to me that
You just didn't
I'm
do
an
it. You didn't
adult
think of
and
it?
I can go places now when I want to. And at that time of my life, I totally could have said, okay, I'm going to go tomorrow and take
And you didn't
take
do
this trip.
it.
And I didn't, and I wish I had, but
What's the weirdest place you've ever traveled before you had kids?
weirdest?
Yeah. I know your brother has some stories about. Doesn't
well,
he?
yeah,
Didn't he
I
go to
mean,
Mongolia?
Yeah, he got stuck in Mongolia and lost his passport, and
Oh
that's a saga that we might have to figure out a way to
I really want to hear
highlight
that story. Yeah.
No, the
But he
closest,
probably
it wasn't,
didn't do the Mongolia trip last minute.
No, they planned for a long time because there was a whole plan for that. So, and the same thing, I took that motorcycle trip, out to Yellowstone, 11 days on motorcycle, but that wasn't last minute. We spent almost a year planning that, so that doesn't quite fit.
The thing that would most qualify for me, closest qualify, I think it was about 2 or 3 weeks out, we found great, and it was before we had kids, we found $250 round trip tickets to Paris and had never been. And so we just went. I think it was maybe 2 weeks before. But the problem with that was, of course, you get stuck with whatever seats are left on the airplane. It was my first trip to Europe, and we were stuck on the middle seats of a big wide body jet, and it was miserable.
That's a nightmare. I have to
It was
always
a
be on
fun
the
trip
aisle.
in Paris, but getting there and getting home was awful. That you get what you pay for. A $250 trip to plane ticket to Europe. You're not going to be comfortable.
No, and that's what you see a lot of those stories about these young people who are traveling all over the place, especially they're spending a year traveling or something and backpacking. It's you're doing this you're getting what you're paying for out of the experience, and then they end up begging for money on the streets of Calcutta or something.
That doesn't sound like a fun vacation experience.
It is an experience, but
Right. Yes. Not a vacation.
So the last thing I wanted to talk about was the Summer Olympics, of course, are coming up July 24th through August 9th in Tokyo. And it's starting to become a little bit of an issue with jitters over the coronavirus. They're starting to see the demand for accommodations and things around the games is dropping precipitously from people in the West. And it could be an issue if this continues through the summer.
Yeah. It's
because they've got the cruise ship going right now that's been quarantined.
Yeah, this stuff that some of this stuff keeps happening, and unfortunately, there's some overreaction that's happening. Royal Caribbean announced yesterday that they're no longer allowing anyone who has a Chinese, Hong Kong, or Macau passport to sail on their ships, no matter where they live or where they have been. So
that's somebody's going to lose their job over that policy,
Absolutely.
because that's not.
It's a complete overreaction. Somebody who is of Chinese descent who's been living in the United States for the last year and hasn't set foot in mainland China is going to be barred from their ships just because they're Chinese.
I mean, at what point do we start, opening up camps?
Exactly. That's exactly what it made me think of last night when I read that story.
It's ridiculous.
It's despicable, really, and I'm kind of horrified that they did that. That is true. There is a cruise ship quarantine in Yokohama Bay right now because they're worried about some passengers. What this ends up, we talked about this last week and the week before. What it ends up being every time is somebody with the flu. It's not even the coronavirus.
Well,
and then
they're related,
it's
so
kind of startling that they'll be like, oh, it was just the flu. Y'all can go and spread the flu.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
It's just as bad, but we're not scared by it. I read an article on CNN that the organizers are starting to get pretty worried that countries are going to not want to send their athletes. The Olympics is a huge undertaking that any town that gets awarded the Olympics spends hundreds of millions of dollars preparing for it.
I mean, these people willingly went to Brazil, and did you see what the swimming pool looked like?
That is a good point.
Let's chill out about being next door to where this virus is.
Yeah,
you know?
And maybe, wash your hands a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that's something that we'll keep watching. I'm curious to see.
Our good friend Zach would say, y'all need to calm down.
That's right. Well, that is all I had this week for the travel trends for 2020.
Yeah.
It's going to be a ecologically green year.
A very green year. We'll have to take a Gold Key Adventure Society trip to an Earth ship to do some woofing.
Let's woof it up, y'all.
There you go. It could be a planning retreat.
Yeah, I'm going to start work on that retreat immediately.
All right, Taos, New Mexico. It looks beautiful.
We're gonna send Dave and Jess, and you guys can report back.
All right,
have fun with that.
Although Dan loves to go camping, so maybe you should be.
I love New Mexico also. Yeah, sounds right up my alley.
I'll hold down the fort here while you guys go do some organic farming
in cold, snowy Michigan. Have fun with that decision.
Okay, fair point.
And then the summer humidity. All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us again this and every week. Hopefully we've inspired you to check out some of these exciting new ways to approach travel and see the world from a new and interesting angle. When you're ready to jump on one of these travel trends, we suggest you head to www.keytotheworldtravel.com to talk to one of their expert travel advisors about planning the trip of a lifetime. Don't forget to check out themeparkprofessor.com for all the latest theme park news and planning tips. We'd appreciate it if you tell a friend about one of the fascinating new ways to travel that we talked about this week. And we can't wait to see you again next week. Bye.
Don't go to Flo's.
Don't woof at Flo's.
It's time to close this week's gathering of the Gold Key Adventurers Society. Thank you so much to each and every one of you for tuning in. If you want to become a member of our band of explorers, all you have to do is subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. And while you're there, go ahead and give us a rating and review, won't you? We'll be eternally grateful. It helps other adventurers find us and helps us grow our show. To ask a question or share your travel story, you can reach us by smoke signal, carrier pigeon, or send an email to goldkeyadventurers@gmail.com. And make sure you follow the Gold Key Adventure Society on Facebook and Instagram. A huge thanks to our sponsor, Key to the World Travel. For all your travel planning needs, visit www.keytotheworldtravel.com for a free quote and help planning the trip of a lifetime. Tell them the Gold Key Adventurers sent you. That's www.keytotheworldtravel.com. Key to the World Travel, your key to a magical vacation. Thanks to Outer Vibe for the use of their song Hoka Hey for the intro and outro of our show. Find them on Facebook at The Outer Vibe or check out www.outervibe.com for tour dates, music, merch, and more. We'll see you next week for another meeting of the Gold Key Adventure Society. And until then, remember, life is short and the world is wide. So go have an adventure.